Hi everyone, Tyler Mannion here, NPC and IPB Pro League Vice President, and this will be your Tampa Pro recap for Open Men's Bodybuilding, brought to you by Uprising. So we'll go through the top two pose by pose. The top two was John in first and Mo in second. I thought overall this was a good show with the top four, but let's get after it here. So first pose up is the front double bicep. I think this was actually a very close pose. As you can see, John was definitely the more conditioned out of the two overall. However, for John, he is one of the people that I think looks better hitting his front double bicep with his abs flexed, not raising up into a partial vacuum. So why do I think this? Because he still is able to, when he hits the pose like that with his abs flexed, he keeps his width. The detail in his midsection really shines through, and overall, I just think it looks much more balanced and detailed and separated all throughout the pose for him. However, he was hitting it more with the half vacuum, with everything raised up. Because of this, even though Mo's conditioning was a little bit less, you see Mo has very big quads from the front. He has a very nice taper. He has nice arms. Everything really flows well. He has a little bit better detail throughout the midsection, even with less conditioning here. So in the front double between the two, I have Mo taking it by a hair. Next up is the front lat spread. The front lat spread, again, is a very strong pose for Mo. He is very full through the arms, the shoulders, and the chest. His lats come out very wide. His waist is nice and small. And again, he has nice full quads that have sweep and that have decent separation to him, even in the condition that he was in. John almost sinks into this pose a little bit too much. I feel like he doesn't get his lats as far out as he can. He also kind of makes his chest a little shallow the way he's holding this pose. And from the front, one of John's weaknesses that he's been working on bringing up is adding more volume to the quads. So because of these reasons right here, I think this is actually Mo's best pose, which makes it 2 poses to 0 for Mo. Next, we move into the side chest. Mo has a very strong side chest pose. However, so does John. You can see in the side leg that John actually has a little bit more density and size to his side leg. He was very full overall through the chest, from shoulder to shoulder, with the arms as well, the outer arm here. Mo is just not as detailed. So while Mo has good muscle overall, I think he has plenty of muscle actually. He just didn't display the same detail and even the same density yet that John does. So dialing in that condition, this maybe could have been different, but this was a clear shot for John for me to make it 2-1. Next up is the back double bicep. John has a very strong back double bicep. It's very balanced from top to bottom. I still think that he could add a little bit more density to the back and add a little bit more density to the hamstrings as well. That would take this pose to the next level for him. I think he's been getting better and better with it, though. Back double bicep for Mo is probably his weakest pose. This is where he really needs to come up, work throughout the overall back, more thickness, more width. Even the way he poses it can get a little bit better. He also could have more detail throughout the hamstrings, and you really see the conditioning difference between the two from the backside here. So John takes this pose pretty easily to make it 2-2. Next up is the back lat spread pose. Mo actually does a better job of hitting this pose, but again, back is definitely the number one body part he needs to bring up. So you see that he still needs to add that density and that width in this pose here. John's lat spread is pretty solid again. However, you see more on the lat spread here that he could have more of that density to bring out that thickness in the back in the lat spread here. And the same thing with the hams. They can come up a little bit more, really make this pose pop. But again, overall, a strong pose for John, especially with the conditioning, to make this 3-2. Next up is a side tricep pose. Mo could definitely do a better job of hitting this pose, making sure the midsection stays flat and the abs stay tight. He was having some trouble controlling the midsection at this show here. Even just going through the poses in his individual, he was almost looked a little bit bloated throughout the midsection, especially at prejudging. I think he did a better job tightening up a little bit more for finals, but that's just something that he needs to work on. John hits this pose very well. He brings out detail in his outer arms. I think he could still have a little bit more detail in the tricep, but shoulder arm balance, fullness through the chest, very, very good through the midsection. John hits his pose very well where his abs stay flat, they stay detailed, they stay tight. And again, he has a very strong side leg. Conditioning was solid. So overall, that gives John the clear win in this pose to make it 4-2. Next up is the abdominals and thigh. Again, a very strong pose for John. Once he's all the way in this pose with all the air blown out of his abs and he's crunched all the way in while still standing upright, you see very nice taper, very good balance from top to bottom here. The only thing I think he can add more of is obviously some more volume to the quads from the front. But nevertheless, very, very strong pose. His waist comes in very tight and very small in this. This should become a stronger pose for Mo with better conditioning, but also just better control of the midsection because he has naturally a very small waist and he has great quads. So this pose can definitely get much better for him, but because of the detail and conditioning here, it was also a clear pose for John to make it 5-2. And last up is the favorite most muscular pose. Again, John hits this pose very well with the hands clasped, standing straight up. You see good overall balance and density from the arms, the shoulders, the chest. He makes sure that we see the midsection with the abs very detailed and tight. Then there was enough separation and development to his quads to overall make this a strong pose. I think Mo would be better off not hitting the crab right now. The crab didn't do him too many favors. I think with his small midsection, and he actually does have detailed abs, so when he's in better condition, if he would hit a variation that's closer to John's, I think it would do him much better because he has good detail and thickness throughout the arms, the shoulders, and the chest with that small waist. So I think he can change that up a little bit. So overall, that would make it 6 poses to 2 for John. John did a very good job at this show. I think he ended up looking a little bit denser and a little bit fuller at this show, but at prejudging, he was almost a little bit too full where it was making the lines a little bit more blurred, in his physique, especially throughout his legs and lower body than they needed to be. With this added density, I think he did add a little bit from the beginning of the year. If he can bring out that separation like he had at the 2 Arnolds combined with this, I think it's definitely going to enhance his look even more. So that would be the main feedback for him. Obviously, keep working on the legs and keep working on adding the density to the back. Now with Mo, he's a very young guy. He has a lot of potential. From the front and from the side right now, his poses can become very strong. I really want to see him at the Olympia come in razor sharp because I think he can hang with some top guys and really show off the size and the density that he has from the front and from the side. Now, back is his main weak point. He knows that. He's going to be working on bringing it up. And I think he's an extremely exciting young competitor that's going to continue to rise through the ranks and, making the pro league exciting here. So great job to him. I look forward to seeing him at the Olympia. In third place, we had Jordan, another young guy who's not done too many pro shows. And I think this was his best look overall. I last saw him in Texas last year. He added some considerable size while still keeping his physique very clean and his waist very tight. Really for him is, I think he came in with a good combination of conditioning and fullness in the morning, but he doesn't really have the density that some of the more seasoned pros have right now. So when it comes to throughout the back, throughout the arms, a little bit through the chest, I think for him coming in as razor sharp as possible will really make him stand out more because he has such a clean physique. But those are the main points to keep bringing up. He definitely added size from last year. His legs came up considerably. He posed very well. In the morning, I think it was actually closer between him and Mo than it was between Mo and John. But then at night, I think he tried to fill up a little bit too much between prejudging and finals. And that cemented him in a very respectable and good third place showing for him. Lastly, in fourth, we had Vlad. So for Vlad, he was in very good condition. His conditioning was pretty razor sharp. He had deep cuts throughout his legs and also throughout his upper body. He can continue to work on bringing the waistline in. That's very important for him. I think he's improved on that for sure. But with the front double and the front lat spread, they need to become more pleasing. That waistline needs to come in more. He can still add a little bit more size to the arms as well to complete the look. From the back, he rounds forward on his back double and also his back lat spread a little bit too much, but specifically his back double bicep. He needs to fix this because actually he can show off better taper and better detail throughout his back, but he was really flattening everything out and taking away almost all of his taper. So if he can work on fixing that and still bring this level of conditioning, he has a lot of mass on his frame. So he'll be able to outmuscle a good bit of guys, going forward at shows. He just happened to be at a very deep lineup, I would say this was. So again, he's a younger guy, and I feel like this was an exciting show overall that shows, we're having a lot of depth throughout all of our open men's shows this year. And a lot of guys are younger and newer pros, so it's exciting to watch them continue to improve. As we see, John had an amazing comeback from the time he, last competed, coming off a bicep tear and making it back to the Olympia. I think it's a huge accomplishment for him. And he's going to be in there fighting for, a top 10 spot, trying to really prove himself at the Olympia this year. That's the recap for open men.